Hey, as promised, we've got an astronaut on the line with us. Maybe a former astronaut. Are you ever really a former astronaut? We were having that conversation a little bit ago. And, of course, we've got Colby Denton with Blue Ridge Community College here with us, too. Colby, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Mark, how are you?
Fantastic.
We're talking to Mike this morning.
Yes, talking to Dr. Mike Massimino, who is on the phone with us this morning. Good morning, Mike. How are you, sir?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
We are glad to have you on the show. Of course, we got you on the show this morning because you're going to be speaking at Blue Ridge Community College's 50th anniversary luncheon coming up on November the 15th. So we just kind of wanted to give everybody a little tease about what we might hear.
Okay. No, I'm looking forward to that.
Fantastic.
All right. This is Colby here, Mike, the communications coordinator at Blue Ridge Community College. First off, thank you so much for speaking with us this morning. You know, we are honored to hear from you, and I can't tell you how excited we are to have you as our keynote speaker in November. Tons and tons of people are telling us about how excited they are to have you at Blue Ridge and to meet you and everything.
That's great. I really appreciate you saying that. I'm looking forward to it as well. People are so kind. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be coming.
For sure. So we couldn't believe a real live astronaut was coming to our college. And to give listeners a chance to get to know you a bit in advance, Mike, I wanted to know, aside from being a best-selling author and a recurring character on The Big Bang Theory, you're also a former astronaut. What's it like? Yeah, I know. What's it like not only going to, but remaining in space for long periods of time?
It was a great job. I did that. You mentioned, or you're former, but yeah, NASA doesn't want us to doesn't want people to be confused by silly things we might say. So it's bad enough while you're working for NASA if you say something silly, and they're like, all right, yeah, he works for us. But once you leave, they're like, no, you're now a former astronaut, so anything silly that you say is not our problem any longer. So that's why we're actually former astronauts, but we're always considered to be part of the astronaut family. But no, it's an extraordinary job. It's something I never thought I'd get a chance to do. I dreamt about it as a little kid and then never thought it could happen. And then realized as I got older and was getting out of college, I really did love the space program and wanted to be a part of it and directed my education and career toward that. And then started applying to become an astronaut, got rejected 3 times, and then finally got picked on my 4th try. So, but it was worth it. And it was just an extraordinary experience. The people I got to work with, the things I got to do, in 1 week as an astronaut gave me so many memories. I would say more than a couple of years full of memories doing anything else I had ever done. It was just an extraordinary experience and very rewarding. And and now that I'm on the other side of it, it's sometimes hard to believe that it actually happened, but it did. Looking forward to telling everybody about it in a couple of weeks.
I was fixing to ask, you're going to be our keynote speaker. What can attendants expect to hear from you, Mike?
I'm going to tell a little bit about my journey to becoming an astronaut, but how I was inspired. And as I said, I did get rejected a few times, so I think there's going to be a message of perseverance and following your dreams and not giving up. And tell them about some of the things that I did in space, some of the lessons I learned, things about what it's required to get a space mission on, and teamwork and leadership and our training. And I learned so many valuable lessons, so many things that helped me as an astronaut and in life from those experiences. I want to share those with people. And then I also want to tell them how cool it is to fly in space. It is just an extraordinary experience. So I want to share some of that, what it's like to view our planet. And it is so beautiful to look at our planet from space. It's like looking into a paradise, like looking into heaven. Mm-hmm. And I want to share those experiences with people as well.
Excellent. Now, you've obviously spent a lot of time in space and as well as training for space. Since you're an author, tell me about your book, and how were its contents influenced by your time with NASA?
Yeah, it's a memoir, and it turned out the book was interesting. I thought it was going to be like a funny book. I tend to be one of the funnier of the astronauts. Not that that's saying much, but out of the astronauts anyway. And it was interesting. A lot of those stories and some of the stories I might tell when I speak in a few weeks, they don't always work on the written page. And the book ended up being a little bit more inspirational, and that's what I think resonated with people. It was successful as a New York Times bestseller, and a lot of the comments I got was that it was inspirational and helpful and very interesting. And so that's what I try to do, is just share some of those lessons and some of my experiences of becoming an astronaut. And so I guess it's what I'll be talking about, but some different stories and in certainly more detail. I'm also excited that the book came out 3 years ago, and now I'm rewriting it. I'm almost done with the final draft, and just skimming up a little bit. It's going to be a young reader version of the first book, meant for middle school age kids. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be coming out in April. It's based on the first book, but it's kind of like a shorter version directed more at younger people. So yeah, but that's what hopefully people seem to have found it interesting and inspirational, because for me, becoming an astronaut was a dream come true, and one I thought could never happen. And dreams do come true, and that's the messaging through all of it.
For sure. Now, what initially inspired you to become an astronaut, Mike?
I was 6 years old when they landed on the moon. I was
oh my gosh! Boy. You can't be that old.
No, I'm 56. Well, I'm actually 57 now. I've had a birthday since the anniversary of Apollo 11 50 years ago.
I would never have guessed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's, yeah.
That really plays in well with.
Maybe I need to update the pictures you got. Yeah, I'm certainly. Yeah. So that's what inspired me was watching Neil Armstrong on the moon when I was 6 years old.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, did you ever expect your time in space would land you a role on one of the most popular TV shows of our decade?
Yeah, no, I never thought that would happen, and some things you just can't plan. But they were the people at the Big Bang Theory. They were interested in trying to have a storyline where one of their characters, Howard Wolowitz, who's played by Simon Helberg, mm-hmm. familiar with the show.
Oh yes, I'm very familiar myself.
Well, sending him to space, and so they wanted to speak to an astronaut about it, and they called NASA. We have this a guy in Washington named Bert Ulrich who handles all inquiries about movies and television, and they wanted to speak to. I think they wanted to speak to a person who spacewalked and had been to Hubble. They were kind of describing me, so Bert reached out to me and said, "Do you mind going and speaking to these guys if you're ever out in the L.A. area, Los Angeles?" And I said, "Sure." I hadn't even seen the show at that point, but I knew it was a popular show. And then I found out a little bit more about it, and I helped them with a script and some ideas. Just talked to them, and then after meeting him about 6 months after that initial meeting, sent me an email. My friend Bill Prady, who's one of the creators of the show, sent me an email and said, "We have an idea. Would you like to try to do a cameo?" I was like, "Sure," and that turned into another 5 of them. So,
oh my god!
It was really fun. Yeah, I got to know the cast and the crew and the writers and the creators and the producers of the show, and it just was a wonderful opportunity and experience doing that show, and made a lot of good friends that I still have, and it was just really fun. It's one of those things that sometimes you just got to say yes to opportunities. So sometimes we try to plan everything out and think that I'm going to do this and that to get this, and I had no idea that what that phone call was that I got when they said, "Would you be interested in talking to these guys?" And I'm like, "Well, if NASA wants me to do it, of course I'll do it." And that ended up being something that grew into something I never would have expected.
Well, last question here, Mike. Just playing devil's advocate here. Why should people come to this upcoming event at Blue Ridge Community College to hear you speak?
Well, if they're interested in the space program and they're interested in learning more about what it's like to be an astronaut, I think that would be of interest to people. I think also for I was going to say younger people who are going to school and pursuing a dream and working hard, but even older people, adults as well. I think it's hopefully an opportunity to learn some things that I learned as an astronaut that I found very helpful in my life about perseverance and teamwork and not giving up. And these are things that I learned that were very valuable. I didn't think of them. There were lessons that came along with the job, and I like sharing those. And I want people to learn a bit more about what it's like to fly in space. I feel very privileged to have gone, and I enjoy sharing those stories. So hopefully, people who come will get a sense of what all that is like, what we did on my missions, what we're going to be doing in the future, and just what it's like to experience a lifelong dream, and how extraordinary it is to view our planet, to see the stars from space, to float, and while you're doing your work. Just these great experiences that I have. I look forward to sharing them with anyone who wants to listen.
Dr. Mike Massimino, we want to say we really appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. You're out of Pittsburgh this morning and headed back over this way, and we'll tell folks all about this this event coming up. Dr. Massimino, thank you so much. Thanks for spending some time with us, all right? All right.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Dr. Mike Massimino, former NASA astronaut, best-selling author, and star on Big Bang Theory. How about that? Colby, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark. Have a great day.
And, folks, that's Blue Ridge Community College's 50th anniversary luncheon. It's coming up on November the 15th at 11:30 a.m. You can get more information by going to blueridge.edu/50th. That's blueridge.edu/50th.